from around the world. And from CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Good evening. Efforts by Poland's new military government to convince the world that the country is calm have been shattered. For the first time, Warsaw Radio and Television today officially acknowledged deaths and injuries from clashes between those enforcing military rule and those resisting it. President Reagan, at a news conference this afternoon, warned, and I quote, "Violence invites violence and threatens to plunge Poland into chaos." In London, Tom Fenton was monitoring events in Poland when the Warsaw announcement came.
The first confirmation of deaths came tonight from Polish television, along with reports of increasing violence. 7 civilians killed and 39 wounded when security forces opened fire on striking miners in Silesia. More than 300 persons injured in violent clashes in Gdansk. In Warsaw today, police broke up attempts by young people to hold a demonstration in Victory Square. The announcer went on to repeat General Jaruzelski's plea for an end to bloodshed and his promise to carry out democratic reforms once order is restored. The buildup of violence, now admitted by the official media, suggests that Poland's military rulers are using increasingly tough tactics to crush resistance to martial law. According to Robert Elliott of the London-based Institute for Strategic Studies, little is known about security operations outside of Warsaw.
One area that could be a difficulty here is Silesia. We aren't getting any background material from that area at all. It's a tough area. The Silesians are tough people. The mining communities are the toughest of them. And this would be one place where extra force would presumably be pretty high on the priority list.
Poland's 200,000-man army is divided among 3 military districts. Military analysts believe it is being held in reserve and used mainly to surround major cities. 56,000 militiamen with light infantry equipment are apparently being used as flying squads to hit individual trouble spots. Foreigners leaving Poland bring out tales of countless human tragedies.
Polish border guards forcibly took a very old woman from that train who was on her way to West Germany to bury her brother with a special West German visa for that occasion. But telling her that this made no difference and we were at war, they forced her from the train in a situation that I thought was appalling.
Reports of the number of arrests vary from 3,500 to more than 40,000. Western diplomats believe many are being held in hastily built detention camps. A communique smuggled out from the Polish bishop says prisoners are being held in deplorable conditions. There is speculation that all of this is being done at the insistence of the Soviet Union. Diplomatic circles in Warsaw report rumors that the Soviet Warsaw Pact commander last week told General Jaruzelski, "If you don't do it, we will." The reports are not confirmed. Tom Fenton, CBS News, London.
U.S. sources told State Department correspondent Robert Pierpoint tonight that the Soviets' Warsaw Pact commander is believed to be still in the Polish capital to help supervise the martial law. Other intelligence sources told Pierpoint that Soviet officers are working closely with the Polish army. Hints of a Soviet presence also came in a ham radio transmission received by a Florida couple late last night. James and Rosemarie Brenner say the radio call came from a city near Krakow. The caller identified himself as Jan. The text of the message said, "The Soviet army taking all supplies, blocked all roads, 3 public executions. Repeat, 3 public executions. Will stay on air as long as possible." The Brenners believe that call was genuine. Direct reports from Warsaw are still very difficult to receive. But tonight we have another report from correspondent Doug Sefton. It was recorded Tuesday, and even then the official picture of a normal life in Poland was crumbling.
One thing the military government here has achieved since martial law became the law of the land is to keep obvious signs of opposition away from the eyes of the people and the press. While armored vehicles and patrols of government troops and militia keep the lid on Warsaw streets during the day, at night, long after the 10 p.m. curfew, they move into factories and arrest strikers. With telephone service non-existent and travel outside the city next to impossible, the population is isolated from the acts of resistance known to be happening in the industrial areas of the north and south. What can't be hidden is the rising toll of arrests, as people report members of their family or friends or neighbors taken away for what is officially described as internment. But it was possible to observe that 4 large industrial plants within and just outside the city are not producing. In one, a solidarity poster announced a sit-in strike. Reliable reports are reaching the capital that mining and industrial areas of the south and port cities of the north are simply not working. One of the 2 government-controlled newspapers still allowed to print listed the names today of 32 prominent Communist Party members interned. The list included 2 former prime ministers. The government has refused to release names of Solidarity officials who have been arrested, and singling out the communists is seen as an attempt to demonstrate that the crackdown is designed to eliminate social disorder from any quarter. Television programming, which in Poland until recently was the freest in Eastern Europe, now has a distinctly military flavor. On the one channel operating, almost everyone wears a uniform, and the entertainment programs feature soldiers in roles earning respect, obviously in the hope it can be transferred to troops in the street.
Since the military crackdown, there's been widespread speculation on the fate of Solidarity leader Lech Wałęsa. Some reports having it that he's been arrested, the government insisting he has not. Believable sources here state that Wałęsa is in a government house outside Warsaw, where representatives of the military council are attempting to convince him of the need to call strikers back to work. Doug Sefton, CBS News, Warsaw.
A demand by Poland's bishops for release of Lech Wałęsa was broadcast in 36 languages today by Vatican Radio. It quoted the bishops as saying Wałęsa's freedom is absolutely indispensable for national equilibrium. At his news conference in Washington, President Reagan put the blame for the Polish crisis on the Soviet Union. Bill Plant has more on that.
Mr. Reagan talked tough but took no action. He accused the Polish government of arresting thousands of its people in the military crackdown in what he called a gross violation of the Helsinki Human Rights Agreement.
It would be naive to think this could happen without the full knowledge and the support of the Soviet Union. We're not naive. We view the current situation in Poland in the gravest of terms, particularly the increasing use of force against an unarmed population and violations of the basic civil rights of the Polish people.
The president warned that the U.S. will supply no further economic aid to Poland as long as martial law continues.
Certainly, it will be impossible for us to continue trying to help Poland solve its economic problems while martial law is imposed on the people of Poland, thousands are imprisoned, and the legal rights of free trade unions previously granted by the government are now denied.
Asked what the U.S. could or would do if martial law is not lifted, Mr. Reagan refused specifics.
You're getting into the area that I've said I cannot discuss, of what our initiatives might be, what our options might be.
Administration sources say there are 2 primary sanctions which can be applied to the Polish government. The first is continued withholding of food aid, though this is diminished by the fact that private relief efforts will go forward and will in fact even be encouraged by the administration. The second sanction would be refusing to refinance Poland's badly overdue billions in private loans. A White House spokesman made it plain these and other possibilities were being held open. But just how to deal with the Soviets, if they become involved, is a different matter. The possibility of Soviet intervention is seen here as less likely now that the Polish government seems to be successfully putting down the Union. But administration policymakers have discussed for months their ultimate economic weapon if the Soviets cross the Polish border. It is a general trade embargo against the Soviet Union, which to be effective would have to be supported by all of Western Europe. But the embargo hasn't even been discussed with the Allies yet, and so far it's all just talk. Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
What makes a woman interesting is that inside she is many women. To know her is to never stop discovering her. It is what makes all women beautiful. I feel the same about perfume. If it is exquisitely made, you never stop discovering it. It is constantly exciting to wear.
Like the woman who inspired it, Sophia by Coty, always magnificent, never the same.
To help you send your warmest holiday greetings, the florists of FTD have created 2 new Holiday Glow bouquets. A twin candle bouquet perfect as a centerpiece. And for those other special places in your home, a single candle bouquet. And because they're from FTD, they'll fill the holidays with the joy of flowers.
Poland today allowed the first mass exodus of foreigners by air since Sunday. After hours of delay, the first plane arrived tonight in London. There to meet it, not only anxious friends and relatives, but Poles who want to go home. One who said she worked for Solidarity said, "I fear I may be arrested when I get back," but she added, "I must go. My daughter and my mother are there and need me." David Culhane in New York reports that is a fear expressed by many Poles tonight.
Ystad, Sweden. In the 4 days since martial law was imposed in their homeland, Polish seamen arriving here to pick up food and medicine have faced the tormenting decision to return home or to defect. So far, 27 young men have decided to jump ship. One of them spoke to CBS News correspondent Doug Tunnell.
I know that when I will come back to Poland, they will take me to the army. I know it. It's sure. And order me to give me the gun and order me to shoot. And I don't want to shoot.
Order you to shoot who?
My friends' fathers, brothers, sisters. My friends' families, my families. I don't know who. Polish people. It's not my enemy.
Helmstedt, West Germany. Traffic across East Germany from Poland has dwindled to almost nothing. A few of the lucky ones hold British passports and got out. Mrs. Helena Dunker talked to CBS News correspondent John Sheehan.
I have seen lots of soldiers and tanks. Well, nothing else.
And what are the people doing? Are there strikes or are they going to work?
I had lots of strikes.
Vienna. Once again, the Chopin Express arrives, the overnight passenger train from Poland. And here is Mrs. Anita Erholt, an Austrian woman who was expected to arrive 2 days ago. When she failed to appear, her husband went into Poland after her. Their paths crossed as they sought each other.
I was coming here because I waited for my husband. And now he was going to Warsaw and we are here. He's now in Warsaw and we are here. That's crazy.
Now she fears her husband may not be allowed to leave Poland. David Culhane, CBS News, New York.
A handful of Polish seamen jumped ship in Canada earlier this week. No one seems absolutely sure that all those defections were in response to the crisis at home, but as Jerry Bowen reports, they continued today.
The latest defections from the 5 Polish fishing vessels now docked at Vancouver Harbor came this morning. 2 merchant seamen deciding after considerable debate with their shipmates to seek asylum in Canada, bringing the number of Polish sailors who do not want to return home to at least 8, though that number could fluctuate. Last night, a routinely scheduled Polish airliner arrived at Vancouver Airport with replacement crews numbering 160 for 2 of the ships in port. But when the replacements were taken by bus to the docks this morning, one of the men refused to board his assigned ship and immediately sought asylum with Canadian immigration officials. Canadian officials stress it is possible that members of the crews being replaced could seek asylum before they board their plane for home. But the officials emphasize the defections are routine here. More than 100 Polish sailors have jumped ship at Vancouver in the past 2 years. At the port of Seward, Alaska, the Polish canning ship Holniak is docked. It is the mothership of a 30-vessel fleet which regularly fishes the Gulf of Alaska. All 36 crew members on the Holniak belong to Solidarity. None has sought asylum. Instead, several mentioned families they wish to return to, and the captain talked of their concern over the strife in their homeland.
We are sorrowful. We are together with the mind with our family. No, we think about safety, our family.
Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
CBS News will present a special report, Poland, Days of Darkness, tonight at 11:30, 10:30 Central Time. Bill Moyers is back with us tonight with a commentary on the Polish crisis. Bill?
And let's be clear about what is happening in Poland. Hope has been extinguished. Let's be clear about what the Soviets have done. They have crushed the people's struggle for human rights. Say the hair splitters, it was not the Soviet Union, but Poland's own government acting to preserve itself. Well, one deceives oneself with such. for it is the ventriloquist voice we hear over Polish television, and the strings to the puppet run straight from the Kremlin. Let us also be clear about what America and the West have done in response. Nothing. Talk is nothing. Yes, I know, military action is impractical. There are limits to power after all. But are we so helpless, or is it because we don't really want our principles to hurt? What about that grain President Reagan decided was okay to sell again? What about that pipeline from Russia to Germany, which the administration protested, but which American companies will build? And what about the billions of dollars owed to Western banks for which the dictators of Russia and Poland and the bankers of the West will plead for exemption from moral indignation? On the other side of the curtain, they invoke expediency. We must do what we do to keep our power and ideology, they say. On this side, we do the same. It's business as usual because convictions are costly. But when we think about the price, when we shrug our shoulders and say sadly there is nothing to be done, remember this picture on a Polish street of a Polish prayer from a Polish woman, a prayer no one has answered.
I wonder if it's a person. C-A-L, verb, to undergo a miraculous transformation. From the Greek kalos, beautiful, that's the cow. And from the Latin vincere, to conquer, that's the vin. Calvin, beautiful conqueror. So that's what happened to me. I've been Calvinized.
Tops and jeans like Calvin Klein. Here in Emilia, to make a good wine, you need a blend of Marani grapes, Salamino, Maestri, and Monterico. But to make a great wine, you need the missing grape, the Lanciolotta. Riuniti adds the Lanciolotta because only Riuniti can grow it to perfection. This missing grape makes Riuniti the best-selling imported wine in America. Pure and natural Riuniti, also in white and rosé. If you haven't tried Riuniti, you don't know what you're missing.
Italian terrorists have kidnapped American Brigadier General James L. Dozier from his apartment in Verona, Italy. Italian police said late today 4 men forced their way into the general's apartment and there was a scuffle, during which the general was hurt. His wife, Judy, was tied to a chair. Dozier was led from the apartment and stuffed into the trunk of a car in which the kidnappers sped away. The Red Brigade terror group later claimed responsibility. Dozier of Arcadia, Florida, is attached to NATO's Verona headquarters as Deputy Chief of Staff for Logistics and Administration. The investigation of assassins that Libya reportedly sent to the United States on a mission to kill the president has changed direction, and Fred Graham has details.
High Justice Department officials say that no hard evidence has been found to indicate that any Libyan hit squads entered or attempted to enter this country. And so the government is now focusing its investigation on the likelihood that Muammar Gaddafi would not have sent assassins from Libya, but would use extremists already in this country.
Sources say the FBI is now concentrating on Islamic radicals in the United States. Extremists among Libyan students in this country, radical Palestinians, including the Front for the Liberation of Palestine, and extremist Islamic groups concentrated in Queens, New York. To prevent Khomeini-style Iranian radicals from giving a hit squad refuge in the empty Iranian embassy in Washington, U.S. agents recently had the doors and windows sealed shut. President Reagan today stood by his previous statements about the seriousness of the assassination threat.
I think it would be very foolish of us to relax any of the security measures, and I can only tell all of you that our information on this entire matter has come from not one, but several widespread sources, and we have complete confidence in it, and that the threat was real.
The FBI was given 12 names of alleged Islamic hitmen by an informer who said they might attempt to enter this country. But sources say there is still no evidence that any one of them actually exists. Fred Graham, CBS News, Washington.
To fulfill President Reagan's pledge to abolish the 4-year-old Department of Energy, the plan now is to transfer most of its major responsibilities to the Department of Commerce. The Department of Interior would pick up some of the remaining functions. The dismantlement and reorganization, however, would require congressional approval. Near Port Gibson, Mississippi today, a little yellow school bus, one with 16 seats but carrying 34 people, slid off a muddy bridge. Most of the passengers were preschool children, 4 to 6 years old. 4 children and 1 adult were killed. 29 others were hurt. The bus dropped 14 feet to a creek, turned on its side, and burned. Some of the children were trapped inside.
You buy the best tasting coffee, but coffee is 95% water. You buy the best tasting tea, but tea is 95% water too. So do something about the taste of your water. Get the Instapure water filter by Teledyne Water Pick. Instapure reduces chlorine, sediment, and some organic contaminants. Instapure can give you better tasting water, and that can be 95% of the battle. The Instapure water filter. If it's from Teledyne Water Pick, you'll feel good about it.
I can't get this even. Easy, Jim.
Take your time.
Sorry, the doctor says too much caffeine makes me tense. Well, how about some Sanka brand decaffeinated coffee? I only like real coffee. Sanka brand's 100% real coffee. Go ahead. It's really good. Now, that's a good-looking treat.
And I don't feel like a Scrooge anymore, thanks to Sanka brand.
Sanka brand. Enjoy your coffee and enjoy your holidays.
G.K. Chesterton wrote, "There is no such thing as education. There is only this education and that education." And that's the issue on trial in Arkansas, whether so-called balanced treatment must be given to opposing theories on how the universe and life began. Testimony in that trial ended today, and Steve Croft was in Little Rock.
For the better part of 2 weeks, the American Civil Liberties Union and the state of Arkansas debated the age-old conflicts between science and religion. The issue was never to prove or disprove the theory of creation, that some supreme being formed the universe from nothing 6,000 years ago. It was to determine whether that theory belonged in science class, alongside the teaching of evolution. The ACLU and a battery of experts said it does not. Clergymen called it religion, educators called it an invasion of academic freedom, and some of the top scientists in the country called it a ridiculous proposition. At a news conference following the final witness, the ACLU seemed to be claiming victory, calling the trial no contest. The state argued that the chances of life evolving from inorganic material are statistically imponderable, and that there is no fossil evidence to support the gradual change evolutionists say occurred. But some witnesses faltered under relentless cross-examination. One mysteriously skipped town before testifying, and nearly all swore they believed everything in the Bible to be scientifically true.
Some of our scientists' motivation was the Bible, but their scientific tests were justified to show that their hypothesis was correct, so their religious beliefs didn't make a difference.
Attorney General Steve Clark and federal Judge William Overton have both been criticized by Christian fundamentalists of mishandling the case. The creation science group that drafted the Arkansas law has all but conceded defeat. A ruling from Judge Overton is expected within 10 days, but regardless of the outcome, there will be appeals, and the case may very well end up before the U.S. Supreme Court. The creation scientists say they plan to pursue their fight, taking the issue before local school boards. The ACLU says it will be there to meet them. Steve Croft, CBS News, Little Rock.
The Commerce Department reported today that personal income of Americans rose a modest 0.6% in November, but the department said personal consumption spending jumped a robust 1%. That hadn't happened since August.
Something wrong, Mrs. Phelps?
Off day, I guess.
Constipation?
And my laxative just...
Did you think of X-Lax? Give me your hand.
Well, that's not the X-Lax I know.
That's the X-Lax pill. We call it the overnight wonder, because X-Lax gently restores your system's own natural rhythm.
So in the morning...
You're back on the bright side, because pills or chocolated, X-Lax is the overnight wonder.
One little pill.
One little X-Lax pill.
Isn't that Ciara?
What does it remind you of?
You smell terrific. Ciara, the thoroughly female fragrance. What will it remind you of?
We We've just learned of another development on the Polish story. Zbigniew Brzezinski, Polish-born national security advisor to former President Carter, has told correspondent Bob Schieffer in Washington that a Nazi-style occupation is underway in Poland. Brzezinski says that he has heard from his own sources that a concentration camp has been opened up on a site used by the Nazis near Steichen, and detainees are living under harsh conditions there. Brzezinski also said that he heard that just today, Polish military militia people swooped into a university, interrupting a faculty meeting and dragging off a group of leading professors. Well, President Reagan gave a Christmas present to federal workers today, a promise that they would not have to pay to park their cars on government land. Former President Carter had ordered parking fees, and a federal appellate court this week upheld those fees. However, after a meeting with the president today, a congressman said he indicated the fees will not be imposed. And while we're on the subject of President Reagan and Christmas, Bruce Morton has the story of the lighting of the national Christmas tree.
We shall live with the hope and the promise of the man of Galilee that Christmases will be better and that we will have peace and goodwill among men. And now,
President Reagan pushed a button, but it was a fake. Behind the stage on the ellipse, technicians got the word from the East Room, where the president was, and threw the real switch. The tree came on. The president was indoors, away from the ceremony, for security reasons, spokesman said. A little over an hour before the ceremony, 22-year-old William Persons jumped the White House fence and got onto the grounds. He was arrested, and he'll be charged with illegal entry. He's done it before. Secret Service spokesman said he was unarmed, not a threat. The Libyans, the hit squads, real or imagined, are the threat. So the music played, the grown-ups and the children listened, and the pretty tree, a 30-foot living blue spruce, sparkled gently. But peace and goodwill seemed a distance away. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
And that's the CBS Evening News for this Thursday. Dan Rather reporting from New York. Good night.
It is entirely possible that the three words parents fear most are some assembly required. So we'd just like you to know that you can easily attach an exciting Atari home video game to your television set in under 5 minutes. That's right, 5 minutes. When you think about that, it's not surprising that Atari makes the world's most popular video game.
Polaroid's new sun camera has a piece of the sun inside that can turn bad light into good pictures.
You use this sun in the sun?
Sure, that sun throws shadows, like on that baby. We filled them with light. See, you've never been so sure of an instant picture.
Love it. But doesn't that cost a lot?
No, but wasting film in bad light does. Besides, you never buy flash or extra batteries.
How'd they get a piece of the sun?
They sent away for it.
You never been so sure.
From around the world and from CBS News headquarters in New York, this has been the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. This is CBS.